Last night, I saw an Instagram reel, and the woman was speaking about how the smarter, more powerful, and hotter you are, the less people will compliment you. And she was saying that people will want to tear you down. And it was funny because I had just been thinking about this the other day. But as she was speaking, something came through for me that surprised even me. So I actually failed out of high school. I dropped out, but it was because I was failing. It wasn't a conscious choice. I was literally failing. I had all F's and one D. And I had a meeting with all of my teachers, and they said to my mom, she can either go to after school and summer school and all these like makeup programs, or she can take her proficiency test. In California, they let you take your proficiency test, which is 3 hours and 100 multiple choice questions, and she can go to community college. And my mom and I went home and she was like, which one do you want to do? And I was like, I choose the latter. Now, most people would make it mean something about them that they're failing high school. And just stay with me. Like you're gonna want to stay with me with this conversation. I did not. I was like, fuck those people. This is bullshit. No one's leading me. No one's challenging me. I'm not interested. I did not make myself wrong. Not even a little bit. So I ended up going to community college immediately after passing the proficiency test, which I don't even know how I passed it. Like I hadn't really attended class since like ninth grade, and I was a junior. I mean, I obviously had passed to some degree to get to being a junior, but God knows how. It was like by the grace of God, honestly. And I went to junior college and I did super well. And then I transferred to university and I did super well. Like I became like this really amazing student. And never once did I make myself wrong for failing out of high school. Never once. In fact, I was someone who always just did what I wanted, led how I wanted, made the choices I wanted based upon my own true north. And then I graduated from college. Hello, and welcome to the ROK way of healing, expanding, spiritually transforming, and mastering energetics. I am Yarok, your host with my cat Tinkerbell. I am a leadership and spiritual mentor, nervous system genius, clinically trained therapist, and all around energetic sorceress, which means I'm a master of energetics and I guide you to master yourself and your energetics, which is the most important thing you will ever do in this world. Okay, so back to the story. So as I was sitting with this, when I went to University of San Francisco, my first weekend there, I downloaded Enlightenment on the dance floor of a rave, which literally just means it came through. Everything is connected, connection is everything, and it all comes back to connection to self. Now, experiencing enlightenment and embodying enlightenment are two very different frequencies. But this sent me on a 180. So at the time, I was a teenage alcoholic. I was seeking saving in boys. I was somehow doing really well in school. But I was, on a little bit of a slippery slope, still never making myself wrong. And when I had this download, it was immediate. It was like, oh, I have to stop drinking, stop seeking saving in boys, dedicate to self mastery. Like I was 19 years old. I got cat hair in my mouth. I was 19 years old. And it was so clear and so pure and so true for me that I literally the next morning woke up and went down that path. I started throwing raves all through college. I threw 4,000 person raves, 2,000 person raves, 500 person raves, and then I graduated and I went into quote unquote society. And society slowly started to chip away at my innate confidence. Like, if you listen to this story, this is a girl, this is a young woman who never made herself wrong. Now, I grew up off the grid, which means no electricity. Sometimes we had an outhouse. I was in the middle of the woods. Obviously, I still went to school. I went to public school, but I just lived in a community that did not socially condition you the same way that living in society does. And so I didn't make myself wrong for just being me. I didn't make myself wrong for failing. I actually remember being in high school, I think I was a sophomore, and one of the girls got a B on a test. And I remember thinking, she was crying because she got a B. And I remember thinking, what the fuck are you crying over a B for? Like, I thought it was ridiculous because to me, school didn't matter. Like, what mattered is, are you living? Are you feeling? Are you experiencing? Are you connected to what matters to you? Now, of course, at 16, I didn't have words for that, and I went off path a bit, but I never made myself wrong. So then I entered society and I went into my first quote unquote real job. And I can trace back through, at the time I was 23, I can trace through all of the ways society started to make me wrong for just being me. Now, does it mean that I was perfect? Absolutely not. I was pretty aggressive. I could be a little bit of a tyrant. I was very forceful. I was a little selfish. So I had to hone those skills. I had to learn grace and wisdom and execution and delivery. But I didn't have guidance. I had a bunch of managers who would get into power struggles with me because they felt threatened by my innate confidence. And so slowly over time, this started to chip away at my trusting myself. And it took me a lot of years to reclaim that innate trust in myself. A lot of years, like 20, and maybe more like 18. And I have a lot of shame around the years that I stopped trusting myself. I don't have shame about dropping out of high school. I don't have shame about failing out of high school. I don't have shame about my experimental drug use. I don't have shame about the times when I acted out or did some crazy things. I have shame about the times I didn't trust myself. I have shame about how, it's gonna make me cry, how I gave my power to people who could never see the brilliance of what I see. And you might feel a similar way. I have shame about how I didn't allow myself to shine to my fullest capacity because other people wanted to chip away at my brilliance and my beauty and my shine and my innate ability to be free. I remember when I was throwing raves, the I had a friend who would say pretty negative things about me to the guy who I was dating at the time. And yes, she was a friend. And 10 years later, she apologized to me and said I was just so jealous of how free you were. And that landed, and I was so grateful she apologized because, first of all, it was super validating. And secondly, it landed in my being of like, yeah, I'm triggering because I'm free. And that may happen for you when you watch my videos and you may want to work with me, but you're like, can I really be that free? Is it safe for me to be that free? I promise you it is. Because I never suffered more than when I started making myself wrong for being who I am. When I was young, I never made myself wrong. I didn't make myself wrong for who I liked. I didn't hold back in expressing that. I was very like, this is who what I want, this is who I am. I would, like go for any boy who I was interested in. And I remember when I was 19, actually, my very good friend, who's now still a good friend, he didn't kiss me back. I was 19, I tried to kiss him. I had like hot pink hair. He was like so preppy and he was like, I don't know, you're wild. I don't know about this. And I was like, what? What do you mean you won't kiss me back? That's never happened to me before. I was just so like, go for it, right? Like, this is life. You're meant to live it. And it was society that made me wrong. It was society that chipped away at my confidence, at my power, at my brilliance, at my beauty, at my freedom because it wanted to put me in this fucking box that I was never meant to exist in, and you aren't either. But you maybe were birthed into this world with more societal conditioning than me. And you spent most of your life outsourcing your power to an authority outside of you, your parents, your teachers, your community, your church. I didn't grow up that way. I grew up, this is who I am. I am free. I do what I want. And I had a mom and stepfather who nurtured that in me, who loved my audacity and my brilliance and my tyrant behavior and really like allowed me to be me, which is truly the greatest gift that anyone can be given. And this is the gift I give my clients. Like, I see you through all of your conditioning. I see the truth of who you are and what you feel and what you believe and what you want to express. And I help you stop making yourself wrong because I promise you, you're making yourself wrong in some capacity. It's just the nature of being in society. Society is constructed to make you feel wrong for being you. You didn't check this box at a certain time. You didn't make this amount of money in a certain time. You didn't marry the certain person. You didn't have kids. I was over 100 grand in debt until I was 40. Like over the years, I just kept accumulating debt. I accumulated credit card debt. I accumulated student loan debt. I couldn't afford where I was living, but I had this inner knowing inside of me, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You're meant to do this. You're meant to be here. You're on the right path. And I followed it. And I'm very grateful that I had support in the form of my mom, who would support me emotionally and sometimes a little bit financially to help me get to where I am today. And then when I was able to pay off all of that debt, it felt like fairies paid it off. And I used to always joke about that. I don't know what's going to happen. Like when I went to grad school in 2016, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. Fairies are going to pay for it. It literally felt like that. Obviously, that's not true. I worked and I showed up and I created a 7-figure healing business. At the time, it was a 6-figure healing business. I paid off my credit card debt, I paid off my student loan debt, and it felt like fairies paid it off. But that's because I trusted myself. I knew I had this inner knowing that I knew how to follow. Now, where I stopped trusting myself was in the smaller ways. The big ways I trusted myself, the smaller ways were harder, and I would seek validation from people who were never going to be able to validate me on my brilliance, on what I saw, on the truth of my soul, on the relationships I was having that were like alchemizing so much inside of me. No one was going to be able to give me that validation, but I had been conditioned through being in the quote unquote real world that I couldn't trust myself. I had been conditioned that I had to give my power to something outside of me. I didn't have that conditioning from when I was little. That conditioning came when I was 23, 24, 25, 26, 28, 30. Those formative years of being a young adult, and all these people outside of me whose egos were in the way, whose power was diminished, and they'd show up through control, and they just wanted to control me because I was this wild young spirit with a brilliant mind, and I would see through their bullshit, and it made them very uncomfortable. And so they'd push back on me. And you might relate to this, except how did you make yourself small? Where did you stop trusting yourself? And maybe it started very young. Maybe you never trusted yourself. Maybe you're just starting to learn to trust yourself. And I promise you, there is another way. I promise you, once you learn to have that internal safety, to have a nervous system that feels like it's dripping in gold, you create such deep self-trust and you stop giving your power to people who can't see what you can see. Stop giving your power to people who think they know better than you do. You know best. Now, here's the tricky part about this. Because you've been conditioned to seek saving outside of you, you don't know best until you can hear your own truth. And people hate this fact. They're like, well, I know my truth better than anyone. Not yet, because you've outsourced it for many years and you need a clean mirror to guide you back to it. You need a clean mirror to be like, no, look this way. No, what about this? No, what about this? Oh, I feel attachment energy. I feel fixation energy. Oh, there might be an addictive behavior here, which is the work that I do. I help you create true, authentic non-attachment through your whole being so that you can be with all things and trust your unique journey, to fall in love with your unique journey. There literally is no greater gift in the world than this. No greater gift in the world. Because when you can fall in love with your journey, which means being able to fall in love with the loss and the heartbreak and the betrayal, like every part of your journey, to see how it's all happening for you. I was just talking to a client this morning in Voxer about a person who I'm deeply in love with. And he and I are not speaking right now. And I said, like, as much as it hurts, I know that this had to happen for both of us. Now, I don't know if I'll ever speak to him again, but this had to happen this way. Whatever's meant to happen is going to happen. And we needed this space. We needed this time for both of our evolution and growth and healing. And most people don't know how to look at it that way. They will blame, they will judge, they will go into victim mode. They'll frantically try to find someone else to latch onto, to date. They'll want to prove that they don't need that person or try to pretend they don't love that person. I love him deeply through every cell of my being. And I know that whatever is happening for both of us. And if we're meant to come back together in this lifetime, we will. And if we're not, then something more aligned will happen for both of us. And when you know how to live life in this way, life just gets to feel filled with eros and connection and joy. You know how to follow your intuitive hits. You know how to trust what's coming forward for you. You know how to go, okay, this is the step forward next. Okay, now I'm going this way. Now I'm going this way. Oh, wait, I've attached onto something outside of me. I need to work through whatever inner child activation or nervous system safety needs to be created so that I can let go of this way of being, of this way of relating, and take the next step. That's what it means to trust yourself, to be so anchored to you, to follow your true north, and to not make yourself wrong for fucking living as a human. Like, please stop making yourself wrong. You make yourself wrong because you're afraid that if you don't fit in, you're going to die. And so shame then becomes a motivator. Like if I have shame about who I am, then I'm going to stay in fitting in and I'm going to belong and I'm never going to get kicked out of the tribe and killed. Because yeah, once upon a time, that's what would happen to us if we were different. We'd get kicked out of the tribe and killed, which is terrifying as fuck, right? But that's not how you have to be now. We are evolving as a society, as a civilization, as a humanity. And the work now is creating such solid nervous system safety. So you have a nervous system that feels like it's dripping in gold. So you have a nervous system that feels like it's dripping in gold. So you can release your attachments and your fixations, and you stop choosing attachment over truth, like the truth of who you are. Like, think about all the ways you shrink to fit in. Think about all the ways you stop yourself from shining, from showing up, from sharing, from being who you are because maybe you've been criticized for it. Maybe you've been judged for it. Maybe you've been bullied for it. I know I was. I was massively bullied for how beautiful and bright and free I am, for how brilliant I am. I was bullied all the time. I was especially bullied for just being me, for just being free, for just saying what I want and doing what I want and showing up as I want and dancing how I want. And I had to reclaim that within myself and stop making myself wrong for it. And I would be around other women. I'd be like, but you can do this too. And that was almost more triggering for them because then they had to face all of the ways that that didn't feel safe for them. And because they had to face all the ways that that felt didn't feel safe for them, I was the problem because it's easier to blame me and villainize me than to look at their own shit and why they're scared to let themselves be free. Because as humans, we're terrified if I let myself be different, I'm going to die. And so we chip away at ourselves till we fit in these boxes. And the years I lived in New York City, 10 years, I kept making myself wrong, but it was an initiation to put me through the fire so that I'd come so fully back to myself and the conviction and what I know to be true and who I am that I would never question it again. And this is what I guide you to. And it's tricky. It's hard to trust yourself at first. You will question everything. And you have so much conditioning that you're not going to choose your truth. You're going to have to be guided back to your truth, which is why you need the clean mirror. Needing the clean mirror is essential because you have so many beliefs and thoughts and perceptions and ways of being that have been normalized by society. Maybe you're attaching to your addiction to TV, to scrolling on your phone, to drinking every night, to exercising, to trying to fix yourself. All of those are addictions. Maybe you're attached to spirituality as an addictive behavior. Maybe you're doing ceremony after ceremony after ceremony, thinking you're going to get there, but you're just addicted to the high and the rush of it all. Maybe you have a relationship that's out of alignment, but you think you should stay because that's what you should do. Maybe you don't feel safe to actually embody the beauty of who you are. So you're constantly hiding because your sister or your mother or someone in your family is jealous. Like, there are so many ways this shows up, and it's so sneaky because you're choosing safety through attachment rather than creating a nervous system that feels like it's dripping in gold. So you can very slowly every day make choices that are aligned with who you say you want to be. So Saturn just went retrograde, which Saturn is all about discipline. And I wrote on Threads yesterday, I said, discipline is simply being in devotion to who you say you want to be, who you say you desire to be, and then making those choices every single day to be that person. And that might mean that you lose people, which is going to trigger your attachment. Your nervous system is related to your attachment. This is what most nervous system healing gets wrong. They like give you the somatic practices and the regulating tools. And yeah, all those are great and necessary. But the true nervous system rewiring and healing and shifting comes when you feel safe to let go of the people who you're meant to let go of, to shift relational dynamics that are codependent, that are enmeshed, that are toxic, that are critical, that are judgmental. And you start making new choices and you shift those relationship dynamics and you actually create an entirely new life that feels so much better. But you have to create the nervous system safety to feel safe to release what's not for you. So much about who you become is having the nervous system safety to let go. And this is what we do. in the ROK world. So if this is resonating with you, I have several ways you can work with me. So reach out, leave a comment, message me on Instagram, YarOK, YARROWKAE, and just take a moment and check in with yourself around how you're feeling after watching this video. In what ways are you not being disciplined to who you claim you desire to be?